What's the best way to refinance your property? Well, there's a couple different things you can do, and there's only really two types of reasons or ways to refinance your property, right? So, number one is why, because it costs money to refinance your loan. So if you have a pretty decent loan going on right now, maybe you got it 7-8 years ago when your interest rate was 5.5%. And now all of a sudden you see these new rates coming down, you want a 4% or 3.5% or something more interesting. Well, that's fantastic, but you got to keep in mind it costs money to refinance the property, right? The lender's got to get paid, it costs you money to appraise it, all that other stuff. So cost is a factor. Now, there's really two types of refinances, okay? There's a rate and term, and there's a cash out refi. So if you're pulling out money, maybe the guidelines might be a little different. If you're doing rate and term, maybe you just have a high rate and you want to consolidate things and you want to pay off some credit card debt or something like that. That might be viewed differently by the lender sometimes. Just kind of depends on what it is. Maybe there's a limit to how much cash you can pull out. It really just depends on your situation. Now, let's suppose for a minute you've decided you're going to do a cash out refi, and your term is okay, your rate and term is okay, you're just going to switch it up a little bit. But if you're doing a cash out refi, why are you doing it? Do you have anything to do with the funds? And this is a big question you want to ask yourself if you're an investor. If you are pulling out cash for another project, that's fantastic. Don't overcomplicate it. And what I see a lot of investors do sometimes is, well, the rate of return on this new property is going to be 5%, maybe 5% cap rate, and the interest rate I'm getting is 4%, and I'm really making 1%. Don't view it like that, because the amount that you can increase the value of your potential project, you really can't calculate that so much. Just depends on, well, number one, depends on what you're refinancing, right? What type of property are you refinancing? If you're refinancing your home, it's different than you're refinancing an investment property. A larger commercial property, maybe you'll be able to get more cash, maybe you're capped to 80%, whatever it is. Sometimes I know in a home refinance, you can go up to 90, 95. So that's another thing. Do not, make sure the property supports itself, no matter what it is. You don't want to get yourself into a tough situation down the road. So if you have a few tenants that can make or break your situation, that could be something you really don't know if you want to do. You want to think about that, probably think about selling. Maybe it's not the best way to go. So another reason I like refinancing is equity protection, all right? So you bought a property for $500,000 and now it's worth $1 million, and you're going to pull out maybe 80%. And now you have protected three or 400,000, whatever you owe on it. You protected some of that equity, right? And maybe you don't have anything lined up right now, but the property can still pay for itself and you still have cash in the bank waiting for a project. So you don't necessarily have to use it right away. It's not a 1031. When you sell, you're forced into a time crunch, really, to find something to close on it and so forth. When you refinance, the biggest advantage is you can sit there until the deal comes along, right? You're not paying tax on that money right away. So just look at what you're refinancing for. If you have equity, you don't know if you want to sell, maybe you can refinance. But if you've got to pull out too much equity, I would say try not to do it. I am very conservative when it comes to refinancing. I don't like to even get near 70%. If you've got to get up to 80% or something, you really might want to think about selling, because if the market turns, if a tenant moves out, if a repair hits you offside, could be anything, it's not a whole lot of gap, not a whole lot of wiggle room. If you're refinancing at 50, 60%, it's not so bad. You've got a lot of cushion there. So the best way to refinance is really depends on you, depends on your situation. What are you doing with the money? Do you have another project lined up? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Do you just want to protect your equity? Do you want to just pull the cash out, save it, till maybe the market does crash. You want to have all your cash in the bank. You don't want to really play that game. So it really just kind of depends on you. But I hope that was helpful. All right, guys, like this video, subscribe to this channel, leave me comments, ask me questions. I'd love to help. Thank you so much for watching.